Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation in Spain, day 226 of the current situation, and most likely you already know that yesterday the Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez announced another state of alarm for the country, and he's planning to have that in place for the next 6 months. But more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel through a small donation. You can see your names here. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now, as I said, it's all about this new state of alarm, and it gives us an idea of what the country is going to look like for the next 6 months. We can see here that Sánchez yesterday approved the new state of alarm in Spain, and he wants to extend it until May the 9th. He also imposed a night curfew from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. around the country, except for the Canary Islands. The president of the government has assured that the new declaration of this new state of alarm is due to the extreme situation that Spain is going through due to COVID-19, and has indicated that the 6-month horizon is due to the fact that experts estimate that this is the time necessary to overcome the most damaging stage of the pandemic. Sánchez has insisted that his wish is not to approve another confinement, but has appealed to the population to make an enormous exercise of social responsibility to reduce mobility and social contacts to a maximum in order to bend the contagion curve to avoid the total paralysis of economic activity as happened in spring. Sánchez said that he can understand fatigue and that he empathizes with young people who want to live. And he also said that it is essential that we reduce social relations as much as we can. So Spain there, in the words of the Prime Minister, in an extreme situation, and he's calling on people in Spain to limit their contact with other people as much as they can in order to get the health situation under control. Now, what can you and can't you do as of yesterday in Spain? Well, these are the measures of the new state of alarm in Spain. The official state gazette has published the decree that includes time restrictions, limitation of social gatherings, and territorial confinements, among other decisions. Now, firstly, we'll have a look at the night curfew, and according to the autonomous communities, a large part of the risky encounters take place at night, which substantially reduces the effectiveness of other implemented control measures. For this reason, the restriction of night mobility is considered a proportionate measure with a potential positive impact on the control of transmission by avoiding risky contact situations linked to social encounters, states the royal decree. The government has announced the general restriction on night mobility from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m, and it will be in place throughout the country with the exception of the Canary Islands. In that time slot, many of the infections have occurred in recent weeks, it states in the official gazette. However, the autonomous communities have the flexibility to start the confinement at 10 p.m, which has been done in Catalonia, or delay it to 12 midnight. Likewise, they may advance the end of the curfew to 5 a.m. or delay it to 7 a.m. Meetings have been limited to 6 people because there is evidence that social contact in both open and closed spaces in which the proper distancing and prevention measures are not kept carries a high risk of virus transmission. Family and social encounters, either in the private or public sphere, are the main environment in which clusters of cases occur, accounting for almost a third of outbreaks and involving more than a quarter of cases. For this reason, the possibility of limiting the gatherings of groups of people in public and private spaces has been established. And finally, the closure and confinement of autonomous communities. The new state of alarm will allow the autonomous communities to confine their entire territory or smaller territorial units and limit the entry and exit of citizens throughout perimeter closures, with the purpose of substantially reducing the mobility of the virus. They will also be able to confine the entire territory of the autonomous community or decide to confine a smaller territorial area, explained Prime Minister Sánchez. This leaves interterritorial mobility in the hands of the autonomous governments. However, in any case, traffic in transit through the territorial areas in which the limitations are applicable shall not be subject to any restriction. So to sum up, a night curfew from 11 a.m. to 6 a.m. in all of Spain except for the Canary Islands, but each autonomous community has the power to change the curfew start time and end time to either 1 hour before or 1 hour later. Also, both indoor and outdoor gatherings have been limited to 6 people. And finally, autonomous communities have the power to close their borders, as we have seen done in Navarra and La Rioja in recent weeks. So an interesting 6 months ahead here in Spain, and this is a last roll of the dice for the government in order to get the health situation under control. Now let's have a look at a map of the nighttime curfew restrictions in Spain, and we can see areas in white are without restrictions, that only being the Canary Islands. We can see dark red are places where the restrictions take place at 10 p.m. and go through to 6 o'clock in the morning. We can see here the lighter red colour, which is the majority of places around Spain, and restrictions start at 11 p.m. and go through to 6 a.m. And the areas in pink have restrictions from midnight to 6 a.m. For example, the Madrid community and the Valencian community, to name two of the four. Now let's have a look at the health situation in Spain at the moment, looking at the whole country and some autonomous communities. So starting with the whole country, we can see the total amount of cases. We can see the cumulative incidence rate around the country sits at 361.66. Deaths in the last 7 days, 655, and hospital pressure, we can see that there are currently 14,539 COVID patients around the country, and in intensive care units there are 2,031 patients. Let's have a look at Galicia now. We can see the total amount of cases. The cumulative incidence rate there sits at 192.11. Deaths in the last 7 days, 49. Hospitalised COVID patients, 390. And there are currently 50 patients in intensive care in Galicia. The Madrid community, we can see the total amount of cases. The cumulative incidence rate sits at 421.62. Deaths in the last 7 days, 131. And hospital pressure, we can see that there are currently 3,133 COVID patients in Madrid hospitals, and there are 494 patients in intensive care units. And finally, the Canary Islands, the only part of Spain that doesn't have a night curfew at the moment. We can see the total amount of cases there. The cumulative incidence rate sits at 81.41. Deaths in the last 7 days, 14. 349 patients currently in hospital because of COVID in the Canary Islands, and there are 47 patients in the Canary Islands in intensive care units. Now, as I have mentioned in recent videos, all of these new restrictions in Spain, such as curfews and how long they are going to be in place for, will depend on the health situation in each autonomous community. And as we know, the government has set up a new traffic light system which shows the level of risk in each autonomous community. We can see here the COVID-19 semaphore in Spain. Up to 9 autonomous communities are at extreme risk. And if we have a look at the map, we can see the different levels of risk. We have high, extreme, medium, and low. And as we can see, the majority of the country finds itself in either a high or extreme situation according to this traffic light system. And finally, a headline here that caught my attention is this one. 70% of people in Spain attribute the increase in infections to the lack of coordination of the government and the autonomous communities. 76% of those surveyed for El Mundo newspaper consider that Spain is not following an organised and coordinated plan to fight the coronavirus. So 3/4 of the population there think that there hasn't been a coordinated plan between the central government and the autonomous community governments, and they're right, there hasn't been. It's been a bit of a shambles over the last few months, and hopefully, I say hopefully, the different governments around Spain will now start to work together to get this situation under control. But maybe I'm being overly optimistic. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from recent videos. First one here from Graham. If the politicians presented greater honesty and general credibility, the public would display more faith and belief, resulting in a greater self-accountability in their actions. This unfortunately is unlikely because basically we all have little or no confidence in the said politicians. Yeah, Graham, thanks for the comment, and basically it sums up what 75% of the population in the country are thinking at the moment. A lot of people have lost faith in the political system. They've lost faith with politicians because we've seen that in many cases they're putting their political objectives above the health and security of the population, and that is why a lot of people are upset at the moment. Over the last 6 months or so, there's been a lack of transparency. People really haven't understood the situation. Politicians haven't been able to get the seriousness of the situation into the heads of the population, and for every step forward we've taken 2 steps back, and that is one of the reasons for the lack of confidence in politicians. One here from Don regarding healthcare. You can get a convenio especial at the Social Security. It costs €60 per month, which is very competitive looking at some of the health plans. Yeah, Don, thanks for the comment. Obviously, in reply to somebody that asked about health insurance plans the other day, private health insurance plans. Somebody asked what the best companies are in Spain for private healthcare. And here you've given another option where people can pay into the state system, into the NHS, if you like, and get health coverage at €60 a month, as you said there. I think it's a little bit extra if you are retired. I'm not sure exactly what the price is, but I think 60 is the price if you are under a certain age, and if you are retired and over a certain age, you have to pay a little bit more. But I'm not 100% sure, but the national health system or the social security system here in Spain could be a good alternative to private healthcare companies. One here from Angela. Hello, Stuart. I notice Western Australia is permanently closed off. My family live and work in Perth, and they are living normal lives at the moment as they are C-19 free. My fear is what will happen when they eventually open the borders. Do you think that they can really avoid C-19 indefinitely? Thank you for your information. It does help me to understand better how things work here in Spain. Many thanks, Angie. Yeah, Angie, thanks for the comment. Western Australia did close its borders in order to keep the virus out of that particular state. I think some other states around the country did it as well. I think South Australia also did something similar, and they have been successful. I saw the Premier of WA the other day on the TV saying that they have had no local infections for about 6 months now, I think he said. All of the cases reported have come from outside the state, and of course people go into quarantine when they are detected with the virus. So they're trying to keep it out. How long can they do it for? I have no idea. Are they going to keep their borders closed forever? I don't think that is a viable option. Are they going to wait for a vaccine? Most likely. I know there is a lot of pressure on the state to open its borders, especially from Canberra, and that'll probably be the first thing that they open, the internal borders in the country, and then international borders. Who knows when they will open up again, and who knows what will happen when they decide to open. One here from West Ham 66, just moved to the Orihuela Costa in Alicante from Ireland, and my bank, Banco Sabadell, set me up with Sanitas medical and dental insurance. As far as an NIE, I would advise getting a solicitor to take care of that for you. As far as I know, there is a big backlog and the process is a pain. If you are from the UK and have to meet any deadlines by the end of 2020 because of Brexit, I would highly recommend seeking professional advice. Yeah, West Ham, thanks for the comment. I think that the majority of banks nowadays do have insurance options for their clients. I said the other day La Caixa, you mentioned there Banco Sabadell. Banco Santander also has something similar. So if you're looking for insurance, talk to your bank. On the subject of the NIE, I have heard that there is a bit of a backlog at the moment. Some people have mentioned in the comment section that this can take a while, that there are delays in the system. And you're right, maybe you need to see a lawyer, maybe you need to see a gestor in order to get this process taken care of so that you don't waste time. Quite a good idea in Spain to outsource this type of thing, and therefore you don't have to waste your time standing in queues and dealing with bureaucracy. So keep that in mind. One here from David. Hi Stuart, great video as always, informative and helpful. I have a question. We have sold up here in the UK and are making Spain our new home. I am due to be travelling mid-November. We have a villa on the Costa Blanca. My question is, will I be able to drive from Santander or Bilbao to Algorfa? I only ask as the ferry is due to dock at around 5:30 p.m, which would mean driving through the night and past the curfew times. Any ideas? Thanks for all your hard work, time and effort. If you're ever around the Algorfa area, there will always be a cold beer or coffee with your name on it, if we can ever get there. Yeah, David, thanks for the comment and your offer there of a coffee or a cold beer if I ever make it to that part of the world. Bit difficult at the moment, as we know, but hopefully one day we will be allowed to travel again in this country. And to answer your question about whether you can travel at night, I don't think you're going to have a problem. Of course, if you are going to your official place of residence, I think you will be allowed to travel through the country. Even if you do get stopped, you can say that you are on your way home, or you can just tell them your story that you are traveling from the UK down to your new place of residence, and they should let you through. The other option that you do have, if you are a little bit worried, is that you try to find accommodation somewhere in the north of Spain, spend the night there, get up at the crack of dawn, 6 o'clock, and start your journey then. That could also be an option for you to try. And finally, one here from Steve. Has the virus remembered to put its clock back, I wonder? Yes, Steve, thanks for the comment and a little bit of humour there. I'm sure that the first thing the virus did yesterday was set its watch to the new times that we have at the moment, going on to the winter time here in Europe. And I've seen a few comments in the comment section that people are not happy about that. A lot of people would like to stay permanently on summertime to get those extra hours of daylight in the afternoon. And I think that is something that is going to be proposed next year, that when we go on to summertime, we're going to stay on it permanently, or at least that's what I think a lot of people would prefer. Personally, I wouldn't, but I don't think I'm in the majority with my opinion on that topic. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.